Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us Thursday, March 20th, regular Board of Education meeting. Would we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance. Good evening again, and thank you everyone for attending. Nice to see everyone in the audience. I need to do a roll call, please. Erin?
Mr. Lucetti?
Here.
Mrs. Rowland?
Here.
Mrs. Tedesco?
Here.
Dr. Barnett? Mr. Myers?
Here.
Mr. Scheid?
Here.
And Mrs. Rivers is absent.
Yes. Thank you. Correspondence to the Board of Education. Here you'll see, well, there's none at this time, so there's no date range. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes from meeting of March 13th. Motion? Motion, Ms. Tedesco. Second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Myers. All in favor? Aye. Any abstention? Motion carries. This is where we move into the superintendent's report. We have a few things going on, and I will introduce Dr. Graham to get us started.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lucetti. This is the great part of our meeting where I get to introduce our student speakers. I think from Robert Moses, we have Joy Flattery and Sophia Kaur here. Are they here? No. Mrs. Sandras, any idea? Okay, we'll move right into the high school student report. And we have our student representative to the Board of Education, Grace Johnston.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Grace Johnston, the Senior Class President of North Babylon High School. I am pleased to present the monthly report for March 2025. Challenge Day was March 3rd to March 6th, held for 10th grade. Challenge Day is a great way for students and faculty to really come together. It makes you realize that you don't know what's going on in someone else's life and should always choose kindness. All Global 10 students attended the Holocaust and Tolerance Center program on Symbols of Hatred. The Shrek play was amazing. We had a great turnout. Big shout out to all cast members, stage crew, and faculty who made it possible. Band, kickline, and color guard went to the St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York City. Our cosmetology program dyed Dr. Klomp's beard green for this event. Dr. Klomp was also fortunate enough to do a feature on News 12. Joe Licata was featured on News 12 for receiving the Scholar Athlete Scholarship sponsored by 4-Leaf Bank. The Spring College Fair will be on Thursday, March 27th, 5 to 7 in the North Gym. Third quarter progress reports went out on East School. Spring sports have started and Unified Bowling is underway. Yesterday, we had our first Pie the Teacher fundraiser held by our math club. Student council trip to Washington, D.C. and Six Flags will be April 4th through April 6th. And sophomores will be going to Luna Park April 26th for their end of the year field trip. Seniors have a mandatory meeting for prom on April 2nd on safe decision making. Seniors must be accompanied by a parent or guardian or will not be able to attend prom. In closing, I would like to thank everyone for their time and have a good night.
Thank you, Grace.
Mr. Lucetti, if I could just say one thing. Dr. Klomp was the celebrity at the St. Patrick's Day Parade walking up and down New York City. Everybody wanted to get a picture with him or shake his hand or give him a high five. So thank you.
Mr. Lucetti, can I say something about Dr. Klomp also? I'm pretty impressed about the green beard, but I was hoping that you would make a show at Shrek. So good job. You could have been green for Shrek, Dr. Klomp. All right.
I'm sorry, Dr. Graham. I really apologize for that.
I thought we were moving into a roast of Dr. Klomp. He truly is, and his beard was really green. I also wanted to just take a moment to mention that we learned earlier today that Jasmine McKay of North Babylon High School girls basketball team was named Miss Suffolk County, which is the Suffolk County Award for the Player of the Year at last night's all-county basketball dinner. And as Grace and a number of our board members have said, and if you saw any of the coverage this week, the North Babylon High School Marching Band was fantastic marching in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York City. And if you haven't had the experience to see them march or listen to them when they're playing as they march, they played 2 numbers at the parade. They play a traditional Irish song, and then they play New York, New York. And it's funny, when you're marching, it's nonstop kick lines, and it gets the crowd going right away, and they really did a great job. And I thank all our music teachers under the direction of Miss O'Brien, our Director of Fine and Performing Arts. And with that said, Miss O'Brien, we'll be recognizing some of our music students this evening. So, Miss O'Brien.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, to celebrate Music in Our Schools Month, we are celebrating the outstanding musical achievements of our North Babylon students. These students have dedicated themselves to their craft, putting in countless hours of practice and demonstrating the discipline, creativity, and passion that make them exceptional musicians. Throughout the year, North Babylon students in grades 4 through 10 and beyond, but specifically 5 through 10 for this, have represented our district with distinction in every division and performing ensemble of the Skamia All-County Festivals. We had 1 student represent Robert Moses Middle School in the All-County Jazz Ensemble. We had, North Babylon High School was represented at the Day of Horn by a current freshman. 9 students district-wide were selected for the LISFA Festival, and we had 11th and 12th graders at the NISCAIM All-County Festival. We have 2 seniors that represented North Babylon at the NISMA All-State Festival, and finally 1 senior was selected for the extremely competitive All-Eastern Music Festival, a remarkable achievement that places him among the most elite musicians on the East Coast. These honors are not given lightly. Students must excel in challenging auditions, receive top scores at NISMA, and demonstrate musical excellence at the highest levels. But our district's commitment to music education begins long before these prestigious festivals. Our youngest musicians start their journey through programs like the PEAK Festival. PEAK stands for Parents, Educators, and Kids, and the Day of Recorder Festival, where they take their first steps into the world of music. These early experiences lay the foundation for a lifelong love of the arts and the excellence that we see here tonight. None of these accomplishments would be possible without the unwavering support of our dedicated music educators. Some of them are here tonight. Mr. Orig, Mr. Glazer, Mr. Travers, and Ms. Gambinski, thank you very much. Yes, thank you. In addition, our families who encourage and nurture their children's talents, and the North Babylon School District's steadfast commitment to the arts. Music is more than just notes on a page. It's a vital part of a well-rounded education. It fosters discipline, teamwork, and self-expression. So it's with great pride that we recognize and congratulate these outstanding students for their hard work and their well-earned success. They have made us all proud, and they remind us why music is such a vital part of our schools. So what we're going to do is we're going to call you up in groups because there are so many of us to celebrate. And students, as you come up, we're going to ask you to come to the risers here. We'll set you up and we'll take pictures and then send you back to your parents till the very end because we have some very special people to applaud as well at the end. Sound good? Okay, so at this time I would like to ask all the students who participated in the PEAK Festival to come to the risers with your certificates. These students spent the better part of a Saturday playing all types of instruments, participating in movement, dance, and song. Next, I would ask for Noah Starling, who represented us at Skamia Jazz, and Philip Russo, who represented us at Skamia Day of Horn. LISFA is Long Island String Festival. It's similar to the all-county concerts, but it's for string only. It is for grades 5 through 12, so I'm going to ask all of our LISFA participants, that was hard to say, to come up together, please. So LISFA String Festival. I have to apologize. I see Miss Verderosa, our high school string teacher. I did not see her come in, so please a round of applause for Miss Verderosa. So now on to the Scamia Festival. Scamia has multiple festivals at different grade levels. We're going to start with the youngest festival, Scamia Division 1. So that would be all 5th and 6th graders that went to Scamia. Okay, next, our 7th and 8th grade, Scamia Division 2. Please come on down. And now, Scamia Division for 9th and 10th grade, Division 3.
I'm gonna get out of your way, I promise. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
And apparently, I missed another one of our music educators. Mr. Manzo, our high school band teacher, is here with us as well. At the 11th and 12th grade Niskayne Festival, we have 3 outstanding musicians, one who unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight, who are fixtures in music events around the district. These students are active in mentoring young musicians at camps, at volunteering to give NISMA lessons at the middle school, and by helping at every concert with chairs and tuning. I'd like to welcome now Jaden Tran, Imran Shah, and Nicholas Castillo.
Yeah, show that one and then we'll keep talking. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Jaden and Imran, who are standing here, also represented North Babylon at the state level. Both students performed a level 6 NISMA solo with an accompanist and received perfect scores. So congratulations for that fine achievement, gentlemen. And Imran, I just have one more thing to say about Jaden, so come sit with Dr. Klant for a minute. Imran, come sit with Dr. Klant. Lastly, our final recognition is for our All-Eastern participant, Jaden Tran. Jaden will travel to Connecticut in April to perform with the best student musicians from Maine to Florida. We are extremely proud of this accomplishment and wish Jaden the best of luck as he represents North Babylon with his talent and musicianship.
Got a binder full. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, everyone, for supporting music education. Thank you, school board, for making this a priority in our schools.
So we are going to continue with the superintendent's report with a presentation on literacy and reading at this time. Typically, if there are students who've earned certificates and they have tons of homework, this would be the time that in the meeting that if they needed to leave, they would leave. We're going to continue on with our business. You're all more than welcome to stay. I guess they spoke.
Give them permission.
And as we get ready for the presentation, we're going to invite the board into the audience. Okay, as we get ready for the final portion of the superintendent's presentation, which is a presentation on some of the elementary literacy initiatives that are taking place in our school district, I wanted to just preface it with saying this is, we've had some changes in our school district in terms of myself being 2 years in. We've changed some structures now, and we have a new position that's dedicated to elementary instruction. That's Jackie Kane, who's here this evening. And we have in the curriculum office, we have Dr. Dolan, who's joined us this year. And so this presentation is meant to be a 30,000-foot view of some of the initiatives that are taking place throughout our school district related to reading instruction at the elementary level. And it coincides with things that are going to be required to happen moving forward, as well as with some of the things that we've already done and some of the things that we've now identified that we need to do. And I just wanted to thank Dr. Dolan, Ms. Kane, all of our elementary principals and our elementary special ed coordinator and our special ed department. This is truly an effort that's been coordinated amongst many departments throughout the school district. And we're looking forward to hearing about all of the things that are happening in elementary literacy this evening. Dr. Dolan, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Graham. I'm very, very happy to be here and to play a very small part in this very important presentation. I know you hear hyperbole across the news all the time, and maybe we do it in education as well, but the fact is that there's nothing more important that we will do than helping our kids learn how to read. Everything they accomplish after that it depends on that ability, and therefore it's really appropriate to take a minute now and talk a little bit about how we are approaching that, and to recognize that our efforts are driven a little bit by a new law, which you will hear referenced in just a couple of minutes, that have asked us to look at the science of reading. You'll hear a lot more about that in a way that we've not looked at it before. As Dr. Graham said, this is an overview. You might not hear about every single reading program that we offer, but you will hear about our intent. In a minute, I'll introduce tonight's presenter, but the fact is, even though they will not come to the podium tonight, you will hear many voices. I've been privy to some meetings with our elementary principals, and they have been spirited meetings and involved and engaged, and there was a moment there where I used to be an umpire, and there was a moment there where I thought I might have to, separate the sides, because they are passionate about what they know about reading and what they want to accomplish for our kids. I'd also like to thank our Director of Special Education, Lori Mellish, and her assistant, Courtney Lazarus, who played a key role. And also, Jackie has had a conversation with C.J. Schultz, our coordinator of English instruction at the secondary level. So this has really been a group effort, recognizing that there's a lot to accomplish here and sufficient time. As you'll hear in a minute, the fact is the new legislation takes effect on September the 1st, 2025, and I believe we're in very good shape to address that. That dialogue is underway, and it will not end tonight. With that, I am very proud to introduce our coordinator of elementary education and the real author of this report, Jackie Kane.
Thank you, Dr. Dolan, for that wonderful greeting. And as Dr. Dolan and Dr. Graham said, this has been a group effort. I have been fortunate enough to step into this position with a lot of support surrounding me. And as a result of that support, I feel like we have made some really nice headway in this literacy initiative. I'm going to begin by finding the clicker. It's important. And tonight we're going to be talking about what Dr. Graham said, where we've been in literacy and where we plan to go with literacy, and using the lens of the Big 6 competencies as part of the focus for tonight's initiative, or for our initiative in general. So this is our path toward where we're going in the future. And as Dr. Dolan said, Education Law 818 is the law that is talking about mandating an evidence-based, scientifically researched reading program for our students. So this is the mandate. This is due on September 1st, and I feel at this point in time we are in good shape because the conversation has been started prior to my arrival, as well as been part of the conversation all of this school year. So in the presentation, you'll see the progress that we've made thus far, but you'll also be able to reflect on some changes that have occurred in recent years that have enabled us to step in and make headway on the science of reading. Our goal as an elementary learning team is to align our efforts with the science of reading by focusing on the literacy framework of the Big Six competencies. So everything that we are doing at the elementary level is thinking about these Big Six competencies. You can see here on the screen, the Big Six are oral language, phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And together, these, if done in a systematic and explicit way, develops a strong foundation in our students. So that has been the focus of the work that we've been doing, is how we can look at our current curriculum and how we can shift what we have and align it better so that our students are hitting these Big Six, that we are hitting these Big Six competencies and building stronger foundational readers. That brings me to this buzz term of science of reading. I actually am very fascinated by the science of reading. The science of reading speaks specifically to the way that reading occurs in the mind. The way that reading actually occurs in the mind is by the orthographic mapping of language into your memory, essentially. And that is the term science of reading. However, the way you go about achieving the science of reading or creating foundational skills in students that develop into lifelong readers is by focusing on those Big Six competencies. So they are very related and aligned. The New York State has put out an instructional practices guideline that is essentially a roadmap of teaching administrators, teachers, how to go about achieving these competencies at a high level. And that has been part of the discussion now and part of the planning for the future of how teachers are going to incorporate these six into their daily instruction. So currently, our literacy block in North Babylon at the elementary level has these components. It's broken up into an 120-minute block, and that block consists of Foundations, which is a foundational reading program that focuses primarily on systematic phonics instruction. And then we have two components of our using the Fontes and Pinnell curriculum. The IRA is the interactive read aloud. This is where we're building background knowledge and developing oral language in our students. And the reading mini lessons is our reading strategies program. Using both of these components, we also do guided reading with our students. And these three components make up a large portion of our reading block, and this is where some of our shift will occur moving forward. These components have 3 cueing as part of their focus of their instruction. And what we have right now in place is a Shifting the Balance book that's going to help us in a professional development platform allow our teachers to see what they need to shift in order to create more alignment with the science of reading while maintaining what we have, but creating a focus of the Big Six within the curriculum that we have. And then lastly, there you see we have the writing workshop model. In the writing workshop model, we have our units of study, and within the units of study, we are working toward more explicit writing instruction. So this is what we currently have. And what we've done is take a look at the curriculum holistically. This has been done across all buildings with teachers, with Reading AIS support, with building principals, of course, with central office, looking at the gaps that might exist in our curriculum. And what has been identified already is a really big and important one because it is truly a strong foundation that's being built. And that was with the bringing in of foundations. So we have done a really nice job. I've gotten to see it so much this school year, see our teachers teach at a high level the phonics instruction that comes with foundations. This is done at kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. So if you think about the Big Six competencies, phonics is being done very, very well. And then the areas that we have identified as an area to focus on moving forward are these things that you see on the board. Phonological awareness being the first one. That is one of our Big Six competencies, and this is one that we are already in motion toward incorporating into our literacy curriculum. The second one you see there is decodable text. We have decodable texts. We are just in need of incorporating them more into the instructional piece of the literacy block so that students have more access to not necessarily leveled readers, but more specifically to readers that are decodable, so students can put into practice what they're learning in Foundations so that they can decode, using their phonological awareness. That will be a piece of this puzzle as well, and then ultimately lead through to comprehension. Vocabulary knowledge building, this is a piece of the focus moving forward. This is an area that we see a little bit of a drop-off as the students get older and they move away from the Foundations curriculum. So focusing on this area to make sure that our students are understanding components of the way words are put together so that they can develop a deeper understanding of meaning of words that are brand new to them. Fluency development is an area that is in our curriculum currently. It just needs to be more of a focus in that it will be incorporated into our literacy block, and students will have more time in partner reading and choral reading and just time reading passages that they're familiar with to build their fluency. And all of this ultimately leads to comprehension. So the comprehension strategies we currently have in our reading mini lessons, and it's really about using what you'll see in the next slides, using the data to help drive all of these pieces. So our curriculum pieces are here, which is a bonus. It's a blessing because we're really just talking about how we're going to shift them and how we're going to train our teachers how to use these pieces in unison to accomplish the Big Six. So in terms of creating alignment with the science of reading, let me go back. This is essentially what I've just said on the last slide, just fleshed out a little bit further. But the most important one is there at the top, that phonological awareness piece. We are currently in the process of looking into Heggerty as a piece of our curriculum that is going to address some phonological awareness gaps that we've noticed in our students. You'll see later in the presentation that we have two components in our digital platforms that have really highlighted that this is a need, especially in our earliest learners, so pre-K and kindergarten, and then this will carry on through first and second grade. So this piece is in the works, the Heggerty and the phonological awareness. As I said before, the decodable text is going to be access to more books that students are going to be able to read and use their understanding of decoding to work through words to understand the meaning of words in order to get through their decodable texts. And this will be less reliant on the 3 cueing system that exists in certain curriculums. We will also be focusing on systematic fluency practice. Some of what we are working on currently is moving toward a more structured and a more systematic way of delivering an instruction to our students, and we're moving away from a balanced literacy approach. So that's an important part of these components. This is moving toward a more explicit, more systematic approach to reading. And you can see that in the list that continues. Background knowledge and oral language. We have many components of this already. We're just prioritizing this as something for our literacy block moving forward as we restructure that block, making sure that we're covering these things. Modifying the small group time, instead of working in what we would say typically as a guided reading block using leveled books, we're going to change our focus toward a lot that we've been working on this school year is understanding what our students know and understanding what our students don't know and driving our instruction toward what they don't know. So using the data to help drive that, that focus of these small groups, and that will be targeted groups that shift throughout the week, throughout the year. And then incorporating more explicit instruction in writing, focusing on reinforcing the phonics that they're learning in Foundations, and spelling and sentence structure. So this is the part of the presentation I can speak very passionately about because I have been doing this work and I am excited by this work and I feel very motivated by this work. What we have been working on currently in the school year, and this is speaking back to the work I've gotten to do with the principals as well, is first of all, developing the time to work with teachers as well as developing the time to collaborate with building principals has been invaluable to this work. These monthly grade level meetings wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the flexibility of the building principals and working together to design a schedule that was really going to work for our teachers so that they can get the professional development time within the school day that's going to allow them to develop and move in this direction. We've spent a tremendous amount of time looking at the data to help drive the instruction and using that data as our decision making for what's best for our students. Deepening our understanding of Renaissance, Next, Freckle, Lililo, STAR, and CBMs. I will explain that a little bit further in a few slides, but this is a big piece of the puzzle because it's what's working in the back end that helps drive the instruction in the front end. Assessment analysis is similar to the data-driven instruction. It's now looking at our universal screener, our data that we're pulling from our students' work and assessments in the classroom, and really trying to understand and analyze what they do know and what they don't know, and then developing our lessons and curriculum moving forward. With all of that said, we've been working within a data tracking sheet. That data tracking sheet has been the beginning of a shift toward a new approach. And not necessarily a new approach, it's just the approach that I've taken. So when I work with teachers, data's not new to them, but they are always working within this data tracking sheet so that they're able to see their students and understand where there might be gaps. So on the next slide, you'll see a snapshot of what a data tracking sheet looks like, and this is how we're trying to make informed decisions on our students. And then from there, creating targeted instruction, and that is essentially coming from all the data and diving into the data to understand what they know and what they don't know. So all of this leads to targeted instruction. This graphic highlights what we have from an assessment platform with our universal screener. So we have the Renaissance suite of products, which includes our STAR assessments, which I'm sure everyone is very familiar with. But what we might be less familiar with are two products called Freckle and Lalilo. These are the skills practice space, or excuse me, this is the skills practice space for STAR. So if STAR says you're not doing well in one standard, it's gonna send you into Freckle and Lalilo and allow you to develop that skill, but it can't live there alone. So what we've been working on when we talk about using the data to drive the instruction, we've been using that skills practice space on the left, Freckle and Lalilo, to understand from a standards lens and from a skills lens what our students do and don't know, and then we're designing curriculum or our lessons accordingly. Aside from that, on the right-hand side, you see Progress Monitor. We have a program that we've actually had for a little bit of time. We're just leveraging it a little bit more now, called CBMs. CBMs are a curriculum-based measure, and it really is key indications of what our students don't know at the most basic level of understanding. So it starts with letter naming and letter sound, and there's a continuum of understanding that goes on within a CBM. So the goal with CBMs is to monitor our students at the earliest age to understand who's making progress. It is a true progress monitor. They can be done 3 times a year at a tier 1 level. They can be done every 6 to 8 weeks at a tier 2 level, or even more frequently at a tier 3 level, but under the understanding that an intervention is happening in between each assessment. So the target is always at the most, for a CBM, the target is always at the most basic understanding of letter naming or phoneme segmentation, making sure you're targeting that as the classroom teacher and intervening in your small groups, and then using the progress monitor to help see if you've made any headway in that intervention, which then informs the teacher if the intervention is working. So it's the cyclical process that informs itself, which is something that we've been working on all year. And then the tracking student achievement, the reports are something we've had access to since the beginning of STAR, but using the reports deliberately, which you'll see in the next few slides, how we're using the reports deliberately to help drive the instruction. And then I have one more page just to show you some of the way we're looking at the data. So if you see on the bottom left, Renaissance Next, I didn't speak to so much on the last side, but Renaissance Next is the data insight platform. So without doing any heavy lifting whatsoever, you can go to Renaissance Next and get suggestions on what your students need right then and there. So you don't need to do this deep dive into data, which is how we spend some of our grade level meetings or faculty meetings or whichever meetings we're a part of. But the Renaissance Next is going to give you the snapshot. So it's going to give you the most informed way of looking at what you should do that day in small group instruction or how you can plan for tomorrow's small group instruction. Lalilo is the early literacy component to our STAR products. Lalilo allows you to see the specifics of early or foundational literacy and allows you to target according to the domains on the left-hand side, and it gives you a percentage of how successful they are within each domain and within each standard. And then below that to the right, you see Freckle. That's a skills progression page. Each one of those skills are tied to a larger standard, and you can see the green marks their success rate across that grade level and across the standards and skills. And then above that, you can see the CBMs. So these are all the components I spoke about on the last page. The CBMs, if done in the grade level that they're supposed to be in, will turn either red or green based on their success. And that is the progress monitor that allows you to determine whether or not your interventions are working. So the goal with the CBMs is that if these are done consistently and systematically, that by third grade, all of those foundational pieces are addressed, and we are able to understand if there are any gaps in their learning based on this progress monitor. So using the data sheets, I mentioned it before, that is a link to a data sheet for every single classroom teacher in the district, at the elementary level. And the purpose of it is for them to drive their instruction using the data that comes from these sheets. So instead of talking about it, I'm going to show it to you. This is what a snapshot of one of the data sheets looks like. If you see on the left-hand side, it starts with data from June. So September was not lost in the data, in the decision-making on our students. We took June's data from the FNP, which is their reading level. We took June's data from the scaled score in STAR, and then we started making decisions on what we needed to do to address student needs and highlight any successes. Right after that, you can see the end of year math assessment in June, so math is in there as well, highlighting any areas that might stand out. Teachers at the start of the year did a standards review on all of the math standards that appeared in the end of year assessment, and that is how they began their small groups for math at the start of the year. Those two middle columns are addressing which students are at which level in the MTSS process. And then from there, we have the beginning of the year math assessment and all of the FNP and STAR data moving forward from September on. So these data sheets are how they're sitting and looking at their students. At an MTSS meeting, these data sheets are going up on the board so that they can make informed and educated decisions on how their students are performing. This is some of the reports that have been around since the beginning. So these STAR reports, this is the Standards Mastery Report. So again, if you think about the Big Six and making sure that data is driving the instruction, these components right here are part of how that instruction is being driven. Looking at these standards, each one of those standards has a drop down with a substandard, so you can really highlight your areas of need for your classroom. So this is the approach that I was referencing before. If we're looking at our students and trying to make informed decisions, and I see an area that's in the red, I'm going to open up that area and make sure that I'm targeting that in my whole group instruction, because if it's red, that means the whole class is not understanding it. So I'm going to target it there, and then potentially create targeted instruction in Freckle to see if after my whole group lesson it has been mastered, and if not, I would then design my small group instruction from that. So these are standards mastery reports for kindergarten. There's one for third grade. If you see, each page is one's skills, one's domains, and one is early literacy. So each one opens up to the standards and the skills that are within each standard. And then fifth grade. And then from there, back one slide, we've also focused on our growth rate. So it's not about understanding which students are not performing well or who are performing really well. It's also about understanding which students are stagnating, which students are showing maybe low growth versus high growth. If it's high growth, low proficiency, high growth is the goal. We want our students making headway, and they will make headway with the continued interventions and targeted instruction we're providing. So using this STAR Growth Proficiency Report helps us identify those low growth students so that we can target and intervene. And then this is an additional report looking at the class standards mastery. So you could look across an entire class and see which of your students are standing out. And this is just another way to make informed decisions on your students. From the inception of bringing foundations to North Babylon, I think you can see the growth, and I think teachers are starting to feel those foundational skills existing each year. So it's building from year to year. Our kindergartners going into first grade have a much better understanding of that letter-sound relationship, and you can see that as we move through this, this time frame. So this is fall of 2023, all the way to the winter of 2025, so this was just in January. So here we're only measuring that light green and dark green, but you could see significant growth, or nice growth, from 37% in the fall of 2023 to 59.4% in the winter of 2025. After speaking with a reading AIS providers, building principals, this on all accounts, is due to foundations and the students having a stronger phonics program, helping them develop stronger foundational literacy skills. And our expected outcomes using this initiative as the focus moving forward is for our teachers to develop stronger foundational skills and understand how to teach their students using the Big Six components. This will inadvertently reduce the number of students needing intervention and hopefully require more Tier 1 time in the classroom, and the Tier 2 students out of the classroom can have more focused time in that space. Increase teacher confidence and expertise in literacy instruction. Part of my focus for next year is to develop a professional development plan so that the grade level meetings are not redundant to what we've done this year, but building on what we've done this year and shifting that from that balanced literacy approach into a more structured literacy approach, and using our time systematically to make sure we're developing our teachers in the right way. A stronger alignment of curriculum, assessment, and instruction with evidence-based practices. So the nice part of our Renaissance Suite is it helps inform us so that we are not always doing the heavy lifting of trying to understand what students don't understand. It's actually giving us some of that information right there. And then ultimately, the goal moving forward would be enhanced family and community involvement in our literacy development. So having workshops and making sure families are understanding exactly what you're understanding today, what our initiative is, and how we can support our community to support their children at home. So that is what we've been working on this school year. I know that was a mouthful, but it actually is it's been exciting. It actually feels like we're making headway. One thing I didn't mention is we're not only working in grade levels and faculty meetings, but principals and myself are working with teachers on in their faculty meetings at Superintendent's Conference Day, because a lot of this sounds like a lot of change, but really we're shifting a mental model. We're really not changing a lot. We're asking everyone to just think about it a little bit differently. Our components and our pieces are here. It's just a matter of how we start accessing them and using them. So that work is happening in the back end, and I already feel the shift in teachers and the understanding of where we need to go and excitement on it. So it's been a very productive and positive experience so far. So thank you all for your time and attention.
Thanks,
That is
Jackie.
all.
And then we're going to have an opportunity now for Board of Education questions. One of the things I have to say is when Jackie first started this role, she and I talked about the scope of the role. She's in charge of all elementary curriculum areas. And she said, what do you want me to focus on? I said, literacy. We need to make sure that our students can read. Ideally, they can all read before the third grade or before they leave the third grade. And that's something that she really has taken the ball with and run with, along with all of the other people on our team. So I want to thank Jackie, and I'll give the microphone to any board members who have questions at this time.
I don't have a question. I just want to say that it is really, really great to see a data-driven approach, right? That we're looking at our data and that our data is guiding our Tier 1 instruction.
Thank you.
So that is a great use of resources that you have available.
I appreciate that. I think teachers are not annoyed hearing me say data, data, data anymore, because I think they're starting to feel its impact and feeling like it's worth the time and using it. So it's been productive. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. All right, so let's go back to the other side of the table. You know, as I conclude the superintendent's report, I wanted to again just thank Ms. Kane and Dr. Dolan for their work on this, all of the elementary principals and our special education leadership team as well. And while I have the microphone, just mention that Ms. Jackson is being recognized by the town of Babylon later this month for Women's History Month, right? So I think that's March 27th, Val? Yes, yes. Congratulations, Val. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Graham, and thank you from the board to all the same, and congratulations. We're going to move on to public participation. This section gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize residents who wish to raise a question or make a brief statement on agenda items and agenda items only. Time available will be limited to 5 minutes for each comment, and we just ask that you step up to the mic, state your name, what area you come from, and ask your question. So does anyone have any questions tonight? Tom? We just, yeah, we'll turn it off here.
Thank you so much. So with regard to Nicole Girgenti, thank you. I have a question regarding Lililo and Renaissance. Can you tell me more about what that is? Because I'm not understanding. You said the word a lot, but what is that in terms of like K to 2 and like 3 to 5 instruction?
So Lililo is the early literacy.
Thank you.
Thanks. Lililo is the early literacy component to the Star Renaissance Suite. Freckle is the 3 to 5 component. So you're right, I didn't say that.
But is it a digital component?
Yes.
So can you explain to me how that works?
So the students all have access to a program called ClassLink, and it's
So kindergarten?
Yes. Yep. Even earlier in pre-K if necessary, but we're not putting a lot of pre-K students on it quite yet. But it's a K to 2, it's a pre-K to 2, so essentially program for early literacy. It focuses on all foundational reading skills. And what is nice about it is it highlights, let's say, phonological awareness as a gap in their instruction. So it's adorable. It's a little character that asks you which letter says ah, and they have to select the ah.
So you're saying it's gamified?
It's gamified, yes. It's gamified to an extent. It's not like a video game by any means with avatars. It's a Q&A, but it's.
But does it have like a currency or any type of gamification where students?
Ms. Girgenti, you have a number of questions, and there's a time period for the questions during the board meeting.
That's the last one. That's the last one.
Yes, they earn coins as they go.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just stay here.
Jendy Natalie Mitchell, Alfred Street. So my question is, you had up on the side Heggerty. Do we have anybody in district that is Heggerty certified, Wilson certified, and Orton Gillian certified for the reading programs? And
So Heggerty right now.
sorry, they
No
can't
worries.
hear on the YouTube.
No worries. Okay. Heggerty is currently being brought in. No one is certified currently, but the professional development for that will start this year for implementation of the program for next school year. And the focus of that will be to focus specifically on phonological awareness. And from the Heggerty standpoint, it's more about the approach to the way you're teaching versus a curriculum. It's more of like your style and your approach with the way that you're instructing students.
And I'll take the other two. The Wilson and OG, we are in the process right now, and happen to have the chart in front of me, of assessing where we are in terms of certification, who we have, where they are in the process. And as I said, tonight, while we were focusing on reading in general, there will be further follow-up on those specialized programs and how we implement them.
Okay, and then is there a incentive for teachers to be certified in these areas, or will there be an incentive for them to be certified in those areas because they are proven successful programs?
I don't think there's a contractual incentive, but I think there's an incentive that's offered by way of our discussion with them and letting them know what a powerful tool it is for their kids. We can certainly, we can certainly discuss the incentivization, maybe coins, the incentivization.
Well, does the district, I guess, does the district pay for the certification or reimburse for the certification if they are to choose to get certified in those areas?
If it involved graduate credits, they would certainly move across column. I don't know if the specialized program would result in a salary increase, but with your permission, I'm the new guy here, I will get back to the board with that answer, and then we'll convey that to you.
I appreciate that, and that was a really great presentation, so thank you very much. Thank you. You want me to shut it off? Leave it on? Okay.
I asked my, all right.
Right, we just said no.
All right, so this is my question. I wanted to know, because the STAR testing, does that make the curriculum on Lilo and Freckle individualized for the student? That's what I wanted to know.
That's a good question. The STAR assessment is adaptive, so as the students progress, the questions change and get harder. And then Lililo is pulled from that information, as is Freckle. So it places them, and then they go according to their adaptive path.
Okay, so not every child is on the same thing.
Correct.
Okay.
And you then extract the data to find which groups make sense to work with together. Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good stuff. All right, thank you for everyone. We're going to move on now. We're going to move to personnel action items. So the superintendent of school recommends the board approve the personnel action items, schedules A, B, and C dated March 20th, 25. I need a motion. Motion, Mr. Scheid. Second? Second, Mr. Myers. All in favor? Aye. Any abstention? Motion carries. We have an employment agreement. Recommend the board approve the employment agreement for a member of the North Babylon Teachers Organization for an employee listed in confidential attachment A as more fully disclosed in executive session, hereby authorizes the board president to sign the agreement on behalf of the Board of Education. I need a motion. Motion, Ms. Rowland. Second? Second, Ms. Tedesco. All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, awesome. So moving on to omnibus, I have from A to E. You guys want to take a look? Motion? Motion, Mr. Myers. Second? Second, Mr. Scheid. All in favor? Any abstention? Motion carries. So now we're over to reports of the subcommittees. We have an audit committee. Anyone want to speak on behalf of the audit committee tonight? Mr. Scheid.
Yeah, so the audit committee met tonight with our auditors, Colin and Danowski. I'm going to say it wrong, I'm sure. And we had no new findings from the engagement that they have this year, which is really good. There's a couple of items that are still in the process of being completed from last year that we're working on, and I know we have I know Frank and Tiana have a plan to get that done, and we're going to have that meeting, bless you, to talk about it. So it's a very good audit report. I appreciate the work that you guys did, so thank you very much.
Awesome, good stuff. Thank you. There was also some policy committee meetings. Anyone want to speak on behalf of that? Crystal?
The policy committee met this week. We are in a very long ongoing process to really update the policy manual, so it's going to be an ongoing thing. We did get feedback on our manual from NYSBA, so we're looking through policy by policy, one by one, to see what the feedback is and any adjustments. So we went through some, and then those will move through the process as we go. So you're going to see a lot of policy updates this year through the year, and we will continue our work.
Thank you, Crystal. Okay, so we're up to board discussion topics. We're up to public participation. So according to Board Policy 1510, this section of the agenda gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize residents who wish to raise a question or make a brief statement on matters including but not limited to agenda items. Time available will be held to 5 minutes for a question. And same thing, please step up to the mic, ask your question, state your name and area you come from. Thank you.
Hi, Karen Schmidt. I have 3. Do you want them all at once, or do you want a question, pause, question, pause? Okay. Question 1 is about the literacy presentation. Are the STAR results available for parents to read? So that's question 1. Question 2 is piggybacking off of my question at last meeting about the 9-period day for the middle school. I think it was Mr. Scheid had commented on the cost associated with the 9-period day. I'm just curious to know what that cost would be. What would be the projected cost in the budget for a 9-period day? And then question 3, again, piggybacking off the last meeting, do we have an end date for the financial investigation that the board approved, for the additional counsel the board approved, and do we have a cost for those services?
Right Right now, the Literacy Star results are not available to parents. There is a parent report that we're talking about how do we make that available through the parent portal. It's something that's easy to do from a technical standpoint.
Right.
And now we're just talking about operationalizing that. More information will come out in terms of the when that is available. With respect to the 9-period day at the middle school, you were asking about a cost.
I'm only asking because that was used at the last meeting as rationale for why it's not being moved forward into the budget as a proposal. So I'm just wondering what that cost would be.
I would say just a back of the envelope, really rough number right now, it would be somewhere in between $500,000 and $1 million. I would say, and stop short of saying that that's the only reason that we're not pursuing that for next year. That is a reason when we look at our budget for next year and we look at our total costs and where we know our revenues are going to be and where our anticipated expenditures are going to be. That certainly all plays into it, but I would say that that's not the only reason. I think that we want to make sure, one, as I mentioned last time, that this is year one for the high school's 9-period day. We want to make sure that that's being done real well. As you know, we're making some adjustments to that schedule for next year. In terms of our mathematics instruction at the high school and how we utilize that time. So we would want time to make the same evaluation prior to doing it at the middle school. And then with respect to end date for council and the forensics audit, there is no known end date at this time. And with respect to the cost of those, there is no known cost at this time either.
Awesome, thank you.
Evelyn Handel, 7 Hayden Avenue. I love that presentation. Hello. I thought it was a great presentation. I want to make sure that we're going to continue on that path regardless of who is in charge of our curriculum. Have you had any discussion on how you're going to inform the community that we're going to one single polling place because people are used to one thing and not everybody has school-age children? So, concern. OMG, the amazing things we saw here tonight. I would love to see some of that on that high school board. Okay. Thanks. I wasn't at work today, but I got many a phone call that, they had a generator at Vetter, which I think is great. I was wondering where the generator came from. And I wanted to know what seats are up this year and do we have anybody running yet? Yeah, not bad.
I can answer the last question, real quick. There's 2 seats available this year. Ms. Rowland's seat is up and Ms. Tedesco's seat is up.
Okay.
And both of them have picked up packets. There have been no other packets picked up at this time.
And then with respect to continuing on this path for literacy, that will be the path that we take into perpetuity, hopefully.
Okay.
And we know, as I said earlier, during the presentation, the most important thing that we do, or one of the most important things that we do, is make sure that all of our students can read by the end of 3rd grade, and that's our commitment, is that we will continue to work toward that. With respect to the notification of the community and the single polling place, that's something that we've started to blast out on our social media outlets. Not everybody has social media, so we'll have a mailing at some point as well on that, and we'll continue to just push that message out as much as we can. I met with Syntax representatives on the budget newsletter and the spring newsletter. Those are both places, those are things that get mailed out, or the budget newsletter is, so that will be included in there as well, so that everybody receives that in a mailing, not
And
just social media.
It'll be specific what gym, because people do go to the wrong gym all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and when people get to this high school, they will see signs similar to any other polling location that indicate where you go to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, we could put that on the digital sign. And then with respect to,
I'm sorry, but I just got thank you.
that was Matt, I can't take
Good
credit
answer.
for that. And then with respect to the generator, I'm not exactly sure what your question is. We did have are you talking about MGV today?
Yeah, that's what
Okay,
yeah.
so I don't know what your question is.
I don't know, I heard that people were calling me, that there was a generator for some of the power, which I think is great. I was wondering where the generator came from.
Frank, yeah.
For that. So, so the generator did come into play today because there was a power issue at the line, which they're fixing tonight. So we should have full power tomorrow. The generator at MGV was part of the bond, the $69 million bond. So it was a Phase 3A item, along with the other schools as well. So all of our
Okay.
generators are in really good condition. So it turned out to be useful today.
Okay. Did I have something else? Oh, thank you for the generator. I wasn't there, but I heard that it was very helpful. All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, Jay Shinnick, 29 Denmark Lane. A follow-up to last week. Have we looked into if we have 19As at the Transportation Department? Because one of my concerns, and this is going back 25 years ago when I was in private business, when you do references, all you get these days is the person worked here from this date to that date, nothing else. If you say positive things about some people, but don't say anything on the next one, you're subject to litigation. So people have gone to date of employments and pretty much nothing else. Reason why I ask that is most school districts, high school, middle school, then elementary, some schools have 2 elementaries with like a K-1-2 and a 3-4-5. Okay. Kids that get left on the bus is usually done in the morning when they're dropping off kids at the schools. Bus driver leaves a child on the bus, parks the bus in the yard with the rest of the buses, and is terminated. A week and a half later, they're driving for North Babylon. So when you're going to put signs out, experienced bus drivers needed, you got to do damn good checks on who you're hiring, okay? And really you need to focus on getting people in district, training your drivers. When I was taught in Deer Park, there was a 19A, but most of the driving experience in practice was just with another driver. It didn't have to be a 19A per se. We need to get serious because, Frank, in your presentation last week, you made mention that, and there was something in the Transportation Department where we had extra money because we hired a couple of drivers last year. I forget, it wasn't that much, but I'm hearing our numbers are down tremendously, like 50, 60% of the drivers we used to have years ago, okay? And we need to get very serious about this, and just going outside and hiring experienced drivers, you don't know who you're getting, because one of the drivers you hired, I happen to know the person, left the child in a bus, parked the bus, went home for the morning. Okay, and it was like a K-1-2 kid. All right, so please get serious about, and who does transportation report to? It used to be, back when I was on the school board, it used to be Sal Carambia. Is it still up to the finance department? All right. So if you need any help on any of the stuff I'm talking about, talk to Bob, who knows how to get in touch with me. Okay, I can give you any references. I was a VP of finance for 30 years, and then I like kids, I drove a school bus for 17. And I drove in another district because you couldn't be on the school board and work here at the same time. All right, so I don't know what's going on. We're not a district that people are going to, like a Half Hollow Hills or West Babylon. We can put out, we want experienced bus drivers, and people are dying to get into the district. There's not a waiting list to get in here, okay? There's not a waiting list in a lot of districts anymore. But there used to be a waiting list to get into a Half Hollow and a West Babylon, okay? But I'm very skeptical of probably 50% of the experienced bus drivers that you're hiring are people who were terminated from other jobs with cause.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I just want to also just be cautious, Mr. Shinnick, that we're conflating a number of issues here. You know, we do have a vetting process for our employees. I can't speak to the particulars of situations that you're talking about because I don't know what you're talking about, but I just want to be cautious of making accusations when I do know that we have a transportation department that puts our kids first and foremost every single day.
No, I understand that, but with the referencing, when you're calling up referencing, all people do these days is the person worked from this date to that date, and unless something was filed through the state, okay, you're not gonna know about it, nobody's gonna tell you about it, okay? And this one I happen to know personally, okay, was terminated for leaving the kid on the bus in the bus garage and going home, and then shows up working for North Babylon. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
And then, I just wanted to add too, just to clarify, we don't do initial 19A certified training for people. So to get a job in North Babylon, you need to come with a 19A certified. But we do have someone on staff that does annual refresher training and safety training, and
Most districts actually do training.
as do we. So we do it. We do not train people to get the initial license, but we do the 19A training
And what I'm
here
recommending
on
is
staff.
You go back to training to get the initial license. It doesn't always have to be with the 19A. Okay? The 19A has to go with them for the driving test. But the practicing, okay, you can have a senior driver take somebody out. Okay? Half the lessons I have when I trained 19 years ago was with other people who were not 19As. Okay? You're spending $6.5 million for outside services. And when I was on the school board, we did a survey. It cost about $1,100 per student for in-district buses, and it was like $2,900 for going to outside services. So it's like 2.5 times more, and you're spending $6.5 million.
Jay, that question was brought up, and we have asked them to come to that. That's gonna come back around. I don't know if we're ready to talk about that today, but we're gonna have some information on that $6.5 million that you had questioned about.
But it
in
is
an
more expensive.
upcoming, yes, it is, for sure.
And I'm saying, if we put a focus on training drivers, okay, and,
Just know that there is.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
Hi, Jenzy Natali Mitchell, Alfred Street again. I have been watching most of your board meetings. Unfortunately, my son has scouts. That's why I have not been here. I know you missed me. I have been watching, and I am very thankful that Karen has been asking the question almost every time about this forensic audit. I, as well, am eagerly awaiting to foil it when it does get done, and to find out what our cost that we have spent on it is. Again, phenomenal presentation on literacy. I hope that we do continue to move forward with our literacy. I think a lot of the younger kids have, with COVID that came in, didn't do preschool, didn't do that. I'm curious if the numbers prior to to COVID, where they were. Are we further? Are we? Does that make sense? Because if you're looking at 2023 kids from the 2023 year to the 2025 year, those 2023 kids were in COVID for preschool, a lot of them, or kindergarten. What were our numbers prior to COVID? Are we back there, or are we further? I don't know if there's any data on that we'd be able to.
That's a great question, and I don't think this particular.
No. I thought of it
presentation
after
had
I
that, but
talked
it's a
the
great
first
question.
time.
Yeah, we can have Dr. Dolan take a look.
Yeah, but that was my.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great question. Anyone else? No? All right, well, again, yeah, thank you. It was a great night, great conversations. We do appreciate everyone coming here and having concerns and bringing them to us. So thank you. We had a wonderful night of celebrating our students with some wonderful achievements. So just have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful week, and see you at the next meeting. So I need a motion to adjourn. Second? All in favor?